Salete, mihi nomen est Stella, et hoc est Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 205 for April, for April, MMXXI. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by milehighcomics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 paperbacks. Trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. Well, there's a lot going on in my mind leading up to this. I had a chat, sort of a pre-interview with a potential school in Minnesota. And then I thought I was going to record right after that, but it's kind of hard to turn off once you're on in an interview feeling or capacity. So I decided to take a break. I was also rather hungry. So I ended up eating. And then I watched, well, while I was eating, I watched an episode of Them from Amazon Prime. And maybe that wasn't the best because it's not like it was easygoing. I thought I was actually going to watch Mayans, but that comes out tonight. So that's why I couldn't. But actually, is it frozen? Mm-mm. Come on. Okay. Not responding. That's always great. So if I were to come back to where we were, I was watching Them. So not great to necessarily calm me down, but it did make me think about something in particular. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot. Obviously, I've talked about it and before, and that's rape and sexual assault in media. And just with Them, and this is just the first episodes. I don't know how it continues. I'm sure it gets worse and worse. There's almost this threat of the tension of the suspense of racism and racial tensions or anxiety without necessarily seeing it. I'm sure we're about to see it, but just, seeing someone standing over there looking at you and then slowly gathering, that was enough to cause anxiety. And I thought that's exactly what I was talking about, where you can go to that edge and not go there. But all that to say, I suppose that I think I have decided that there will be an upcoming episode. I'm not putting a date on it yet because I have no idea, and there needs to be much preparation in order for it to be worthwhile. But it seems like people are interested in, at least people that I've spoken with, a side episode of Batgirl the Oracle where I discuss the use of rape and sexual assault in media and what's appropriate, what's not, and should it be in there or should it not be. And I think right now, as far as I've gotten, is that it will be a panel of people. There will be a man, if not two, on the panel, and women as well. And I actually had my beloved boss lady came to visit me one day at lunch at work, and I actually brought up the whole thing and asked what her thoughts are. So I would love it. It would be so amazing if I could get her on to my podcast. But what a podcast to have. What a heavy discussion for her first, I think probably her first episode or first podcast entry into podcasts. Well, I have to say that I'm recording on April 21st, and it is in fact the birthday of my former beloved Donovan Morgan Grant. So from my heart to yours, former beloved and dear friend, happy birthday, Felicem Diem Natalem. That's the nicest thing I'll say to Donovan. He actually might pop on to the show. I'm going to give him a call after I do 2 Batgirl stories from 2001 or 2002, potentially. Yeah, I think I'm in 2002 with Cass. If he answers, he answers. If he doesn't, that's on him that he isn't there to defend Cass. Now, I want to throw him under the bus. I want to hold him accountable. I want to call him out as a fake fan of Cassandra Cain. And this is why, folks. I was planning this episode as well as the next one and future ones. And I wasn't really feeling having a co-host on this particular episode. I think it was more like the time I don't know. It feels like I had so many subsequent episodes with other people that I just needed a break to be away from people. And I knew that the next episode I'm going to be with Donovan. We're going to do Bruce Jerk, murderer, fugitive. So I kind of wanted to carve out this space. And I knew specifically there was a storyline between Cass and Shiva that he wanted to be on and wanted to double check with those. And he said it starts in 23, but I think it ends in 25 or whatever. And I said, okay, well, can I do 22 and 23 by myself? Will you be okay with that? And he said, it's your show. And he also said that basically after 25, I guess after this culmination of Shiva and Cass, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about it. He doesn't need to be on it. It's his creative team continues on, but he doesn't care. So I can do whatever I want with Cass. I can say whatever I want about her. He's not going to be writing in. It's not going to be on my back. And I thought, who are you? Aren't you a Cassandra Cain fan and you're done with her after 25 issues? Who are you? How dare you, sir? And I thought this is reprehensible. And I told him I was going to call him out on this particular episode. So happy birthday. But also you think, how dare you? You have much to answer for, and perhaps you'll answer for it when I give you a call if you decide to answer the phone or not. So that's all I have to say about that. And perhaps we will hear from him or not. Hey, there's a lot going on in this particular episode. I feel like my thoughts are all jumbled. There is so much to talk about. There's so much Oracle to talk about, and more so in modern. I think it's the most modern Oracle that I've ever spoken about. So just strap in. I think at one point someone said it's going to be an 8-hour podcast. And I thought to myself, you know what? With some of the feelings that I have going around, some of the thoughts I have in my head, it might be because I might yell. And then similar to that voice actor that I don't know if it was Goku or something, Donovan has told me a story about a voice actor for some character Dragon Ball Z that screamed and screamed so loud and so powerfully that person passed out. And I thought, well, maybe I'll black out. The film will keep on rolling and then I'll wake up and then I'll get back into it. And that's how it becomes an 8-hour podcast. Here's hoping not. I think partially, I mean, once we get to it, I might say it again, but I think my thoughts are more well-formed than they were initially. I was actually on a recent episode of the Batman Universe comic podcast where we talk about Joker #2, because that's going to be not necessarily a main event. Well, maybe it is a main event where something huge gets dropped, a big revelation and continuity changing. And I went off a bit, I could have gone on longer, but I think now that I sort of word vomited on that show, I think now I can rein it back in and be more precise as well as maybe more methodical, but we'll see. I will say that I'm still finding my joy. That was a weird transition. I'm finding my joy, so I'll move on to that particular segment. This is Shag's Mac and Cheese of Comfort and Joy. Still renting from Gamefly, which I'm ever so appreciative of that particular company. And recently, I'm now playing Dirt 5 in preparation for Resident Evil 8 Village, which I think I'll get back to. But before that, I rented Detroit Beyond Human. And is it Beyond Human? You know what? It's Become Human. Detroit Become Human. Yeah, I think I mixed two video games that I want to talk about. So this came out when 2017. It's rather recent. And I knew overall the type of gameplay that it was, similar to Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, which is why I mix those two. And I don't even need to say necessarily, I don't like passive gaming. Heavy Rain, I think I enjoyed, and that was earlier on in kind of my gaming history that I was more tolerant of it or accepting of it. But then before Detroit, I actually rented Beyond Two Souls. I did not really like that at all. I think there were certain aspects that I did, but just like these button prompts, the story was a bit meh. And the acting was okay. I mean, you've got Elliot Page and Willem Dafoe, but the story and what they had to say don't really align with the great acting abilities that they have, and just Elliot being a at that point, a whiny girl for several it was just it was not my cup of tea. And then I think after that, I was like trying to carve out space. Might have been before I played the walking simulator, as they call some of them, which was what everyone goes to the Rapture. It was interesting learning about the people as well as the town and what had happened. But it's just, man, I want something more, to engage with. And as escapism, I do want more action. So then accidentally, I didn't intend for it to be at the top of my queue. I wanted Little Nightmares, which I think too, and I think it was, but I just haven't been able to get Little Nightmares 2 for whatever reason, must have low availability. So then Detroit came. I thought, oh no, I'm going from one button press and conversation to another one. But believe me, I just felt completely different about it. I think while it's still more or less passive and button pressing and actions aren't as, you're not moving your own, well, you're moving to a certain extent, but fights are just some, square, triangle, something like that. The story was so engaging. I really loved the three characters. I was totally in, like, even at the beginning, I was completely in, just figuring out who these people were, what this story is, what is life like for these androids. So I highly recommend it. And one of the androids, who is really, he becomes a prominent leader in human rights, or just, I guess, android rights or equal rights for the androids. He becomes the leader in that. He is a black android, so it was multi-layered, and there was even a section where my favorite android, Kara, and the girl that she's with, they are given shelter by a black woman and her son, and that woman actually brings up, the people that would have helped potentially, some of the few white people that would have helped black slaves escaping or running away, or even more recent memories, being more loving and compassionate towards black people when they didn't have as many civil rights. So I liked how it was this nice little cycle. But yeah, I highly recommend Detroit Become Human. And what was really interesting is that every single choice you make, which I think is different than, I think it was more expansive than, is definitely Beyond and Heavy Rain, though it's been a while since I played that. Every single choice that you make has some sort of impact. There are so many threads at the end of each chapter or level. You'll see the choices that you made, and then there are a bunch of question marks, and it's like this crazy graph almost, or timeline, and it shows other potentialities that you could have gone through. So I thought, oh man, this is so smart. And again, for a passive game, I was just totally engaged. So that's really what gets to me is a good story. So I'm waiting out Resident Evil 8, which I've got it game locked, as they say. So I should get it. Well, game locked means like I'm definitely going to get it, but I have to send back my game in a particular time so that my slot is freed up. But I also am really worried that I send it back and then they send me something else, and then the game lock thing doesn't happen. But I have a complicated history with Resident Evil. I would actually like to do a podcast on Resident Evil, but I feel like I need to do a bit more, but play a bit more of the series. But I remember in high school, I was probably a sophomore or something, watching someone on the GameCube play Resident Evil 4, just like, this is not for me, the zombies, this is so weird. And then giving Resident Evil 2 Remake a shot, just because I thought it was so beautiful. There's a female protagonist that has her own story, which always excites me. And really liking it, though, being as nervous as I thought, being spooked. And especially, I think, Mr. X. I don't like people following me. incessantly, like you can't get away from them. They'll follow you wherever you go. I don't like that sort of thing. And so I do have Resident Evil 3 remake, but I have yet to work up the nerve because I know that Nemesis is like a step above Mr. X, where he can go into safe rooms, I think, and he just like can really get you. So that makes me nervous. But I had really no interest, definitely no interest in playing Resident Evil 7, just the first person perspective, as well as the setting being Texas Chainsaw Massacre-ish, and it looked gross. It just looks gross if you look at any of the beginning gameplay, really. And then 8, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's the same protagonist. It's first person. I have no interest. But then they started showing more. And I know everyone's going gaga over Lady D. And they're like, yeah, I would be glad to be killed by her. I'm not necessarily like that, though. She looks intriguing and I'm interested to find out more about her. But just the going through, I think the beginning of the gameplay and learning more about that world, I became interested and I thought, well, I should play 7, give that a shot just to see if I can take 8. And so I ended up getting 7 from Gamefly. And I will say that it is more harrowing being first person because when you're spooked, it's like you turn around and you have a space between you when you're third person. Like if I'm playing as Claire and I turn around and Mr. X is there, I've got a person between me and Mr. X. It's Mr. X, Claire, and then me, the player. But with Resident Evil 7 and that now 8, when you turn around, it's you and then that person. And so that was frightening. And the story was okay. The protagonist, I just feel like Ethan is a dud. And I've seen elsewhere like people are super excited. I think Resident Evil 8 creators are like, we're so happy to be back with Ethan. I'm like, he's a dud. I mean, I'm even watching the trailer for Resident Evil 8 and his wife looks to be his wife looks to be killed by Chris Redfield. And there's no pleading leading up to like, no, Chris, don't do it. Don't. When he's pointing the gun, it's just like bang, bang. There's a beat, at least a couple beats. And there's like, you killed my wife. I'm like, where's the delay? Where's the begging leading up to it? He's a complete dud. And I don't know if it's the character. I don't know if it's the actor, but he's the least interesting thing about Resident Evil 7 in particular. And 8, I think it'll be interesting. I think I look forward to seeing what the connection is because there's always a virus around that connects somehow to Umbrella. And besides Chris Redfield, I don't think we really know. And there are werewolves and vampires in this one, so it seems like a change. So I'm looking forward to that. All that to say. And I keep trying to get Harold. I'm trying to bully him into playing. He's really interested. He's got a crush on Lady D. He wants to be one of those people to run into her open arms. By the way, speaking of her, I just saw like I don't know, 5-second footage of her on IGN that she chases you like Mr. X. I'm watching this unfold. And she's like 9 feet tall and she has to bend down and go into a room and there you are. And she's got these long, oh my gosh. So I'm going to be really nervous the whole time, but I'm looking forward to it. And with Harold, yeah, he wants to play it, but he's also nervous about, which I completely understand. But I thought, do I need to have a podcast in order to convince you to come on and or to play it so we can talk about it? So anyways, I think that's it. So all those things are giving me joy, specifically the Detroit Become Human, just because I thought that was a really deep and engaging game. And then I did get my haircut recently and I kind of went more conservative, but I was trying to have a haircut like Kara from Detroit because she was my favorite character, like I said. And thought her hairstyle is pretty cool. So okie dokie. Well, I think it's time. So just to give you a roadmap of what this whole episode will be like, of course, on YouTube, it's split into 2. I have several quickies on both ends. Quickies in the vintage, and then I'm going to focus my time on Batgirl 22 and 23. And then I've got my break, and then I'm going to have quickies in the modern or on the modern side, and then focus, I think, my time on Joker number 2, though I do have some things to say about Batman Urban Legends too, specifically the costume. and I will, I think, give an apology to a certain extent with with urban legends, and I'll explain why I'm apologizing as long as I remember. Hopefully, this current light holds out until I'm finished with the vintage, and then I'll turn on what I need to turn on. Okay, remember with quickies, we're moving on. We're moving on to the quickies. With quickies, I tell you creator teams, and I give, most likely from Comixology, a little blurb from the solicitor of what it was, and then tell you what part Oracle played. I feel like, in my opinion, the quickies just don't warrant a full review. So that's what I'm doing here. Otherwise, I will be doing this podcast for forever until I die. So here we go. Batman Gotham Knights 22 bugged out. It was a Joker Last Laugh tie-in. So unfortunately for me, I did not catch that one. Okay, December 2001 is the cover date. Writer Devin Grayson, penciler Roger Robinson, inker John Floyd, and colorist Gloria Vasquez, one of the few females that consistently pops up when I'm talking about these vintage issues. A Joker's Last Laugh tie-in with the Joker's crazed supervillains terrorizing the DCU. Batman and Spoiler are left to defend Gotham City from a truly twisted new threat as the Joker's brand of chemical warfare has transformed the creatures of the city. So Batjerk actually goes off to get some Jokerized defenders reported near Burnley and asks who is closest. Oracle tells him that he has alienated nearly all the members of his team, which was rather, I don't know, ironic, or it was humorous as like, that's terrible kind of humor. He ends up calling in the reserves, as he says, aka Spoiler. So that's another thing, that she's kind of low on the list of priorities there. But just the fact that, wow, Oracle is the one, like, I'm so sorry, there's no one available. They really don't want to be with you right now. So there you go. Okay, next is Nightwing 63, Red, Fright, and Blue. Writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Trevor McCarthy, inker Carl Kiesel, and colorist Gregory Wright. January 2002 is the cover date. After his encounter with the Joker, Dick just may hang up his tights forever. So who's going to patrol Bloodhaven in his absence? Robin and Blue Beetle, of course. But their first night on patrol may just turn out to be their last, as they're faced with the maniacal madman. And I will say that this, I feel like, aligns well with the Birds of Prey. I guess 37 and 38 were Blue Beetle and Robin were working together. So that's nice continuity, which makes sense. It's Chuck Dixon. So Nightwing is still in a bad way. He hasn't shaved and he only wears Batman boxers, apparently. Oracle calls him and tries to talk some sense into him, and you hear the sound and you see the video, but it's clear that either he's muted or definitely his video is off, but there's no engagement, so he's just hearing and seeing everything but not doing anything. She says stop asking what ifs, and even if or even Batman has thought about killing the Joker, so consider that. And thinking about the what ifs, like opening the door for her personal history, what if I hadn't opened the door, is how the Joker wins, by getting into your head. So she is speaking from experience, really, I think, the empathy and compassion, because she has been there, unlike other people. He hangs up the call, or at least ends it, and actually locks access. And she decides to send someone to whom Dick will listen, and that happens to be Wally West. So he does some tough love there. There are a range of emotions on the call, going from care to compassion to anger and annoyance on Barbara's side, which I thought was really interesting to see that span of feelings in that, just, which is human. It really made sense. I felt like it was realistic to see, like, absolutely, you're reaching out to someone, now they're not listening, now you need to be forceful with them when they're not listening to you. And then later Dick looks at a picture of him and Barbara on the beach, which seems to be the same one that he looked at when he was with Clancy, or in that. Oh, that was Donovan mentioned that, I think, in the shipper spotlight. And I will say that it's hard. I'm guessing that it's Dick and Babs on the beach. The art is really unappealing in this particular issue, and I think 64 as well. So it's anyone's guess. Looking at Dick, it's like, are you sure that's? I mean, I'm taking your word that it's Dick Grayson. So I didn't like the art. Nightwing 64 on a Christmas evening, February 2002 is the cover date. And oh dear, the same creator team. I did not give a synopsis, but apparently I didn't even think it was necessary because Dick just called. Oh yeah, because Babs is just name dropped. She doesn't even appear. Dick actually calls Tim for info that he would normally call Oracle for, and explains that it's strained between him and Babs. So you can just see the relationship thread, which is what I've been tracing in Nightwing anyways. Then we've got Robin 96, The Big Cats, writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Jeff Parker, inker Rich Burchett, and colorist Noelle Giddings. Oh, wow, another female. January 2002 is the cover date. The synopsis, it's mop up time for the heroes of Gotham after the Joker's crazy shenanigans. Robin, Blue Beetle, there you go, and Black Canary hunt for the bloodthirsty Tezcatlipoca, who once faced Green Arrow Connor Hawk. Robin and Blue Beetle, this is from me. Robin and Blue Beetle are on the trail of a carnivore with a penchant for senseless bloodletting. He asks Oracle if she has any idea, or they ask Oracle if she has any ideas, and she said that she'll look through the Jokerized villain still on the lam. Later identifies the MO of a Mexican national named Chama or Chama. No, it's probably Chama Sierra, aka Tezcatlipoca, self-appointed Aztec jaguar god. Apparently, Connor Hawk actually brought him down, and Oracle warns them both to be careful. And Blue Beetle flirts with a victim in the story, just for all those Babs Ted shippers. His name is Ted, right? Yes, Ted Core. Whoo! Just for all those shippers out there that it seems like he could have a potential relationship there. And then final quickie in the vintage allotment, Robin 97, Starstruck, writer Chuck Dixon, penciler Pete Woods, inker Andrew Pepoy, and colorist Noelle Giddings. February 2002 is the cover date. Teen mania infects Gotham as pop diva Normandy comes to town, and with her, bodyguard to the stars, Joe Hollywood. Can Joe and Robin save the teen sensation from a deadly stalker? Who knows? And what I saw is that Robin is not able to trace the email address that is stalking Normandy. And so Robin asks Oracle for help. Oracle is not only able to trace the stalker who is on his way to Gotham City, but she also discovers that someone used the laptop of Ms. Shields to actively lure the stalker to Gotham. So there you go. Okay. That is it for the quickies. So now, as my light is waning, we're about to get into some Batgirl 22. I will do some screen sharing. I'm going to screen share a lot in this particular episode. And what I realize as I'm talking to you, I realize that I often fail at being a proper host because not all of you are watching this on the YouTube. So I need to do better, be better about hosting. Oh, I don't need you, Zoom. That's okay. So sorry. I need to be better about hosting. Yes. Ay, caramba. And telling you what's happening. So I think we're good. I'll move this into the middle. Okay. So this is Batgirl 22. It has no title. January 2002 is the cover date. Writer Kelly Puckett, penciler Damian Scott, inker Robert Campanella, colorist Jason Wright, and digital Chameleon. From the Batman or DC Wikia. Batman and Batgirl have just apprehended a criminal when Oracle summons Batman to the Watchtower. When Oracle realizes that Batman has brought Batgirl with him, she hesitates first, but then starts to explain that none other than David Cain has sent a video straight out of a nuclear weapon storage facility on Hanford Island. The video shows Cain drinking alcohol and explicitly inviting Batman. Batgirl immediately wants to go there, but Batman holds her back. He will accept the invitation, although he knows it is probably a trap. Batgirl heads out on patrol again. As she is standing on a roof, Batgirl suddenly gets shot at by a sniper. Due to her reflexes, she is able to duck the bullet, but she is not able to catch the sniper. She returns to the watchtower, but does not tell Oracle what just happened. David Cain has switched on the live video feed at that point, and Batgirl quickly notices that a SEAL team is preparing to storm the facility and overwhelm Cain. But when the smoke clears, it is Cain who is still standing while his attackers are probably dead. Meanwhile, Batman has reached the facility on Hanford Island, but when he is about to enter the building, a huge explosion occurs. The video is revealed to be pre-recorded when Cain, the gunman who shot Batgirl, confronts the man who placed a hit on her, warning him that it is a bad idea to hire a man to kill his own daughter. Okay, so I don't think that I will invoke Donovan's ire as much with this one in my questioning than I will with 23. So just be aware of that. Now, I will say, not only to troll Donovan, but as a legitimate question, do you think looking at this cover, Batgirl should be fired because she has in fact broken the neck of this young man over here? Because look at where his head is in position to the rest of his body. His neck is broken. He is a dead man. Should Batgirl be fired? I ask you this. So there you go. Okay. Do I have a lot to say on this? Oh, I guess I do. Okay. Good job, Stella. Okay. I will say that the beginning transitional scenes are a bit jarring. I can almost get behind the first two. I was actually so jarring, in fact, that I was confused because I thought that this was present and then the next part was past and then it went to another scene. But then I realized at the end of the issue that, oh, wait, no, this particular part is past and then it's present. But what threw me is the color. Let me wait. Are we good? Oh my gosh. Zoom, why are you doing this to me? About this. Let me get rid of some of this stuff here. Maybe this will help. Okay. Oh, what threw me off, back to this, sorry. What threw me off is the coloring, because with this, it often happens that the coloring is almost a sepia tone when it's flashback. And so I felt like going from this bluish tone because it's night to this, which does look sepia in the copy that I have. I thought, oh, it's past, but I was wrong. So let's just say about that. But the first two, I think, make sense. The hand here that she is breaking, even though he doesn't even yell anything, is the connection, right? He had a year and a half of physical therapy. There you go. I guess the scar from the sutures. So that makes sense. But then afterwards, like quickly transitioning to this particular scene with Batman in the alley and Batgirl's there. And but it kind of seems like she's hanging out to see if anything's about to happen. It's just, yeah. Is it I don't know. It's a jarring transition. That's all I have to say. I thought this scene was interesting, especially since I came from it from Orpheus Rising, just that we have Batman and this young black man in the alleyway. The young black man is holding a gun, and Batman saying it's not too late to make the right choice and just waits for him to do whatever he decides to do. So I thought that was interesting. And okay, of course, we have Oracle here. So I guess one of my questions would be, is Batman a jerk? And I put jerk in all capital letters for letting Batgirl see Cain on the video scene. You obviously see that Oracle is hesitant about this, which was interesting just because, well, I guess not necessarily because Batman is there, Batgirl is to follow, but they were out, and I feel like she does keep track of where Batgirl is. So of course, maybe, she's with Batman. But even this bottom middle scene, I think on page 5, where you've got, and this pops up a lot, this silhouetting or the shadowing. You have Oracle in the background and Cassandra, they're like thinking about it. She's hesitating, Oracle's hesitating and does not want to play the videotape. And then she ends up doing it, and she does not seem happy that she is going to, just with that bottom right panel. And she knows, I think, the effect that seeing Cain on video and whatever he's doing is going to get to Cassandra. So is Batman a jerk for letting Batgirl see Cain on the video scene? What is the motivation for allowing that to happen? Potentially no secrets, or does he think that something else is going to come of it? And, what will her reactions be to seeing David? He doesn't want her to interact with him or go on that mission. So what would be the point? I feel like the better thing, and I'm going to call into question his fatherhood, not only in 22, but in 23. I feel like you should have shielded your child from this potentially, like this potential pain, especially when you're not going to allow her to engage with it. There is an interesting emphasis. I have to find this on my there it is. So I'm on 7 and the bottom of it. And again, looking at these silhouettes, and I actually make a comment on this number: body, what's it called? Body posture, body language. Batman just standing there pointing, Batgirl pulling on the mask, obviously going to work. That there's a symbolism there, but also her posture is interesting, kind of like if there were no word balloons, it's like, go to your room, ma'am. That's what it seems like. And then Oracle back there as well, really not having any, outside of that scene, not having anything to do with that interaction. And what's really interesting is the way her glasses are almost downturned, as if she's a bit sad about this whole interaction. But this is interesting. I'm going to go do this. Batman is saying that Gotham's yours tonight. Do what I trained you to do. And so I thought that it is interesting to have this emphasis on what I trained you to do. I think there are 2 reads. My initial read actually was, just because I lean that way towards Batjerk and I'm looking at this particular panel, listen to me, not to Oracle. Daddy's talking. Don't worry about mom. Do what I've trained you to do. But I think on a second read through, and probably more prominent, though, I think there is that layer, probably referring to Cain, right? Cain trained her. Batman is aware that Cain trained her. So do what I, Batman, your new father, has trained you to do, rather than your previous trainer and father. So sorry. I just think it takes on a different connotation, especially since Oracle is right there. If Oracle weren't there, I think I would go straight to the Cain interpretation. Talk about the silhouettes. There is a cool splash page coming up. I think it's this one, in fact. Can I show the whole thing? Oh, no. Can I really not? I thought there was a full splash page that I could have seen. I like it. Sorry. Art wise, I don't think I talk a lot about the art, just because I should brag about it all the time, just because it's the same artist. So I do apologize about that. But yeah, just a cool splash page where we see Cass swinging through, stepping on wherever she's stepping on a rooftop. And then you also have layered underneath the flashback and the significance. So the gunshot, or the shot that Cain takes towards current Cassandra Cain, flashes back to the past and what that was like, and 2 for flinching situation. So cool right there. Is it this one? Yeah. So trying to think of what I What is oh, yeah, so just about that splash, I'm assuming Kane knew Batgirl could dodge that bullet, and that's why he did it, and he is actually later smiling at the bottom of that. He's turned away and smiling. He's like, "Yeah, that's my girl. You still got it." The live video, I put need and emotion to I guess the need and it's emotional to watch that live video. It's I think one of my major questions actually is just what is the motive? So I'll get back to that. But it's really interesting to see Barbara's reaction to this video and Cassandra's reaction, and that Cassandra's watching this happen, and especially golly, yeah, look at this. What, page 15? You've got Cassandra with this, like, oh, it's hard to hear the Buddha Buddha blam blam blam, all the gunshots, and then Oracle is there. So the fact that this is live and she's watching her potential father, or she knows she's and her trainer, former mentor, gets slaughtered on live camera is really interesting. And why would you do that? And he looks straight towards the camera right before, or at one point he does, I know. So it's like I'm putting on this show for you. Oh, I think he does that later before the explosion, but I'm putting on this show for you. And why why would you do that to somebody? I guess we know he's going to make it through, so that's another question entirely. But just like, oh man, you just put her through the emotional ringer, but what is the intention or the motivation behind that? The juxtaposition of the past and present with Kane and Batgirl, I think, is really strong in this issue. It's a bit jumbled. I don't think it's the strongest issue that I've read between Cass and David, but I think Puckett builds it up because he does show the history, as does some say the history, and also gives us a frame for reference. Like, why would he smile after shooting her and she is able to dodge it? Oh, because this is something that he did for funsies when she was a child. So there's that connection, I feel. And so that's something, doing that, I think, is engaging and interesting. Yeah, here's this section, right, where saying dreadful sorry, looking up, almost speaking to her like he is aware that she would be watching, then dying, question mark, with that whole thing, and then her running off. So just really interesting having these video moments and speaking to her, I think, directly, and then having her watch all that, which almost seems kind of sick there. I think the ending. Oh, yeah. Oh, this was another flashback here. I'm on page 20 if you're following along. But then this was actually a really beautiful moment. So again, adding, I think, depth and dimension between the two characters and a relationship that one could consider toxic and abusive. But here you have a really beautiful moment where they're sitting out on the roof. She is cradled in his arms and they're looking at constellations. And then, her thinking back to that after he might be dead. So I think it adds some depth to that relationship. But yeah, here this ending is actually misleading just because she's outside and on top. This guy looks the same. It looks like he's about to kill her. And actually, no, he's nowhere else. But I'm actually it's well, the panel layout is interesting. And then just with the guy that his bodyguard, the guy who hired Kane's bodyguard, gets killed, but is there a gunshot that goes through there, or how does he get taken down? So that's also really misleading. There's not a great transition between, there's the blam, but the blam doesn't carry over into this page where that man falls down. He's like, whoa, what happened? Well, there's a gunshot, sir. So because there's no gunshot, I think that made it confusing. Yeah, so I think my main question, well, first of all, I think Batgirl and Batman can't be that naive that they believe him to be dead. So I will put that out there. That's not a question, but I'm just confused. And this is a question I'm going to ask Don if he ends up answering my call. What are/were Kane's motivations? Why the need to be somewhere else or pretend to be? Why be caught on camera and speak to his daughter? All just to be killed, maybe? Why though? Why? I mean, it's great to be thought of as dead and then do what you want or be out of the picture, but it doesn't seem like he wants to be out of Cassandra's picture. And it's not like Batman has really threatened him that much. Kane has such power, I think, over Batman through Cassandra and also through over Cassandra as well. So I don't really know why he would give up that advantage. So the motivation is just really, I don't get it. I don't know what his motivations are. So I think I'm going to give this, I think I'm going to go, so let's say 6.5, 6.5 out of 10 broken hands. Okay, and I'm going to pause. Okay, the light is fine outdoors, but just not strong enough here. So I had to turn on. So thank you. Okay, so this is it. This is where I make Donovan, my former beloved, upset, because we're going to talk about 23, and I have so many questions. I've got questions, not many answers. Okay, 23, we're sharing, we're good to go. Okay, Batgirl 23, Little Talk. So it actually has a subtitle. February 2002 is the cover date. Writer Kelly Puckett, pens for Damian Scott, inker Robert Campanella, colorist Jason Wright, and digital chameleon. From the DC Wikia. After stopping a bank robbery and having to defuse her first bomb, Batgirl returns to the clock tower. Oracle tells her how she herself defused her first bomb as Batgirl by sheer luck. While Batgirl enters the Hollow Room to once again observe Lady Shiva's fighting style, Oracle calls Batman. Oracle and Batman argue over Batgirl's upcoming duel with Lady Shiva, which she has yet to tell Barbara about, even though it will take place in 2 months, and her guilt and death wish. They talk about all those things. Batman refuses to believe that Batgirl killed a man while she was trained by David Cain because the killer could not understand him and his mission as well as Batgirl does. Oracle thinks Batgirl might be like Batman and still a killer. Batgirl finishes the training in the Hollow Room and afterwards assures Oracle, I disagree with this. Sure. She says yes, but I don't think assures. I'll get to that. Assures Oracle that she would tell her if something was bothering her. Okay. So just to begin with the cover, I think the cover is interesting. However, I suppose I was an idiot, but I was like, what does that smoke spell? Is it Beast? Is it Battle? Don't worry, I got it. It's Batgirl. But boy, was I looking at that for a while, but it is interesting. Okay. So what an interesting intro. I can't really make out from the scenery what this guy did for a job, but it really all goes together because of the bomb and the discussion with the bomb, the first bomb, and Barbara talking to her about the bomb, and then fishing for things, which we'll talk about certainly. So the bomb. Yes, I did like this. I've never Barbara saying that's okay. Take a breath, do exactly as I say, and we'll be laughing about this over breakfast. And then they do. They've got some donuts. Yes, some donuts. Okay, so I did enjoy the breakfast after the bomb, but it dismantles quickly my enjoyment as well as the breakfast, in my opinion, especially as Barbara relates to her first time with a bomb. I see what I meant. Okay. So I enjoyed the breakfast after the bomb dismantling. Thank you. Especially as Barbara relates to Cassandra that, hey, I went through the same thing when I was your age, actually older. But then it quickly disintegrates. So this, I've got a major problem with this. Listen up, Donovan. Okay. She guessed. I can go with that. I can go. She guessed how to dismantle the bomb. She had a 50-50 chance. Cassandra's listening to this, maybe dubiously, but listening nonetheless. Then Barbara's saying, you didn't know me back then. I wasn't professional like you. I had some issues. For me, Batgirl was kind of a danger thing. You know, a rush. Who the heck is this Barbara Gordon? What? maybe I can go with a professional. Maybe. She did it on a lark, right? In the beginning. It wasn't a danger thing. It wasn't it wasn't a rush. She didn't continue it for a rush. Part of growing us up, I guess. I guess a lot of teenagers are like that. Is she also calling her a teenager? Are we having some issues with continuity, Mr. Puckett? So my notes here have a bunch of question marks, which when I do repeated punctuation, that means that I'm getting pretty upset. That she had issues, a rush. How dare you? That's what I have to say about there. Teenagers, what's happening? It's garbage. It's garbage. Okay, now let us take a step back from the initial it's garbage judgment. Perhaps Barbara is baiting Cassandra into talking. Maybe. She knows that this fight is going to happen. Cass doesn't know that Barbara knows. So she's trying to put it out there to maybe see if Cass will say things like, hey, I've got a death duel coming up. Hey, I killed this man. I feel like I deserve to die. There's no grace for me. Maybe. But how would anything that she said, teenager issue, maybe the rush, the danger thing, issue, well, maybe the issues, maybe how do they relate to Cass? I don't think Barbara would see her as agreeing to this death match with Shiva because it gave her a rush. And I just feel like, there's Coffee Meets Bagel, the dating website. I would call this disconnect over donuts because boy, am I having trouble. So be asking Donovan about that. Should he answer my telephone? It's happening. People are texting me. This is why I have my phone on airplane, but I need it on because so I can get to Donovan quickly. Shoot. Ugh, I forgot to do something. I wanted to look up. Let me do it right now. I'm going to do it. Hold up, peoples. Ooh. Hold on. Dun, da, da, da. Can I? I don't want to stop. Oh, no. Okay, okay, we're back. I wanted to look up, let me get back to screen sharing here, symptoms of guilt to see if they correlated at all with Cassandra. And this is on WebMD, which would not be the go-to, but I thought, well, I'm in a time crunch here. It's interesting. While your associations with guilt may be negative, it does have a positive function. It's meant to help you make a morally upright decision, which I do think aligns with Cass in that this guilt has really pushed her to, well, for lack of a better phrase, be like Batman. But it says excessive guilt can lead to anxious obsessions, depressive tendencies, and physical symptoms if it's not addressed. While most guilt is internal, it is often conditioned by external factors, which means with the right habits, it can be unlearned. Guilt is intertwined with other disorders, and separating them can be challenging. Guilt's relationship with OCD, anxiety, and depression often brings a host of symptoms. Some of the physical symptoms of guilt are problems with your sleep, your stomach, and digestion, and muscle tension. Some symptoms of guilt also are being sensitive to the effects of every action, overwhelmed by possibly making the wrong decision, low self-esteem, putting your others before yourself until it's detrimental, and avoiding your full range of emotions. So, golly, I mean, it's not apples to apples or a one-to-one comparison with Cassandra, but I feel like there's certainly overlap between what I just read and what Cassandra is going through. Okay. So then we get to the crux of this particular issue, and it's this conversation. I mean, the story is called Little Talk. Oh, yeah. She goes off. It's me. it's time for a little talk. And then well, he stops. So talk. Okay. 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 Barbara wants to call the fight off. I think we should call it off. It's just thinking. They're not behind this, are they? I thought she was working alone. I think we should call it off. Huh. 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 I didn't think they would have anything to do with it. I think they're just wow. Are they behind the whole thing? I never got that read on it until just now. Okay. Another question that I have. I think we should call it off. Okay. I thought we had an understanding is what Batman says. And she says, I know, but we agree. Okay. I'll do high versus low. And you can tell who it is. I know, but we agree she has a death wish. Yes. We agree she has to move past it. Yes. We agree facing Shiva fulfills that wish. Yes, well, I don't, and then dot dot dot. Maybe that's it. What if this isn't her blaze of glory? What if she just thinks she can win? She knows Shiva will win. Come on. If you were 17 years old and could beat up 99.999% of the world, how conscious would you be of that other 0.001? She knows, and ay ay ay. She can't help but know. Batgirl reads body language. Da 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 da. Okay. I disagreement between Bruce. Let's go with real names, shall we? Between Bruce and Babs is difficult for my mind, my heart to fathom. It's difficult to stomach. Cass has a death wish. We need to allow her to fulfill it so she can move on. What? Are they so sure that Shiva won't pull the trigger, as it were? Unless they've hired Shiva. Now I'm everything's in question. I'm so confused. It's like, yeah, she's got a death wish. We need to allow her to free solo. What is it? Mount Capitan. And if she makes it, great, she'll be over it. If not, she died. Like, it seems high stakes for you to allow a child, a teenager, yes, but a child to do this, whatever you're doing. I'm so astounded with it. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. At one point, Batman says, well, I do want to, a big question actually I have is who better understands Cassandra, but I think maybe, yeah, I do have it later on. He does say at one point, and I'm trying to think about this, suicide by Shiva. This is terrible. Shiva is the best. Batgirl wouldn't be the first to consider it an honor. Oh my gosh. So if she dies, it'll be an honor. It's so strange. And Barbara, I think the body language here and her side is certainly justified. I'm just so confused, especially on Bruce's side. Guilt. So we do bring that up. The assassin business, a parent's legacy can be a hard thing, which I think is a really powerful quote, actually, that Batman says. I think that there's meaning for all three characters within this story. A parent's legacy is hard. I mean, think about Bruce. I'm sorry, yeah, parents' legacy. Think about Bruce and the fact that why he's decided to do this. We've got Cass, obviously. I think Oracle, Barbara taking up the mantle for her father, depending on continuity, but for her father is the better one. And even if we think with Cass again, Batman and being that parent figure, I think that's a really powerful quote there. But then we get, of course, to this weird da, 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 da. I don't buy it. Cain was a monster who taught her monstrous things, but I think there's more to her guilt than that. So there's something else going on. Not that she's guilty because she was raised by an assassin to be an assassin, but that she actually did something. And he's saying we've been over this. there's no way she killed that man. Oracle believes that she can be. He said, she understands my mission and the value of a human being. And Batman, he's so willfully naive, and I wonder why. Where is this coming from? I think it makes perfect sense why she would buy in to his mission and his value system, because she made this terrible mistake in that moment of taking someone's life away. She realized the preciousness of a human life, and she decided to change from that. And so not everyone's going to have that experience. I think it's almost, I don't know, oppressive to have for Batman to place his belief systems or his history on, or the reasons why he's doing something on other people, because everyone has their particular life story, and Cassandra's is not his. And so it's really strange, and I guess he doesn't want this to be true. But think of all the other people who buy in as well, but also commit murder. Huntress buys into his desire to clean up Goth, or even well, we could go with Dick, right? Because of Joker. I mean, he buys in absolutely, and then he killed Joker. So I don't understand what this particular disconnect is, and why it's so emotional when you get to Cass. A big question here, something I'll ask Don if he picks up, is who knows Cass better? Who has her best interests? And I think it's hard. I don't know that I necessarily have a concrete answer. I think it depends on the story, depends on the situation. I feel like in this situation, Barbara knows Cass better. I think that whatever this whole situation is, I think that she is right to be so reticent about going through with it. I think second guessing it. I don't know why she entered into it to begin with, but I think she realizes that this is really dangerous. And then Batman is just like, man, she needs to snap out of it, and this is the way we're going to do it. It's like with the drug addict, maybe the way to get someone clean is to have them overdose. Let's pump them full of oxy, and then they'll, I don't know, go into a coma. And then, hey, maybe they'll snap. When they snap out of it, they'll be like, oh man, that was the worst. I'm off drugs. I mean, this sounds terrible. I took that extreme example because that's what I feel like. Like, let's get her to the edge of death. Maybe she will die, but at least if she survives the experience, she won't have a death wish anymore, and she won't be guilty. That's not how guilt works. So this is just ridiculous. So I would say in this story, I think Barbara knows Cass better, and I think she has her best interests more so in mind than Batman. I think it's interesting they both know about the Shiva fight, which now I'm wondering, oh wow, did they hire Shiva? What's happening? Though Cass has told neither of them, and I'm saying this is Stella from last week, I suppose, or the weekend. I guess they use clues from her behavior, but I don't know about that. So I do have a rating, but I'm going to wait. So let's see if my former beloved. It is 7 p.m. his time because he's an hour behind me. By the way, I completely forgot to let you guys know that a shag mac and cheese of comfort and joy. I visited my former beloved in Nashville and had a grand old time. Oh my gosh. I'll tell you about that when we come back. Okay, here we go. Do you think he'll answer? If he doesn't answer, he said he's going to call me back and leave a voicemail, or which I guess I could put at the end of the episode or in here for post-production, or he will I have to think of all the questions I have to ask him now. Or what else did or he'd write in, hello, I did click call. Okay, let's see. He might be with family, might be with his current beloved. We don't know. It's not looking good. We've got, so you're on speaker, so technically you're on the show. Do you have I'll turn it up as loud. Oh, this will be great. Now it's super loud. I think we're good. Can I ask you some questions? Do you have time?
Yeah, I got time. Your voice is like in podcast mode.
I feel so bad for you. Okay, first of all, happy birthday. Happy birthday. I told everyone on the show that it's your birthday.
So be extra mean to me.
No, well, I did call you out at the beginning, but you'll see. Okay, let's start with 22, like a warm up on the 22 issue. What was my question?
I'm looking for my trades as we speak.
Okay.
I meant to reread this.
Yeah. Let me think here. Okay. Oh, here. Okay. One of my questions was, is Batman a jerk, all capital letters, for letting Batgirl to see Cain on the video scene when Oracle clearly wants Batgirl to not be there when she shows that video footage? Do you feel like that was inappropriate of Batman?
No.
What?
No, okay. This I was reading with that. Cain, I'll go, no, but does Oracle protest? Like, does Oracle...
Yeah, she hems and haws.
She, like, I didn't know that Batgirl was going to be here. Cass says, hey. And, like, I can see that Oracle knows Cain, and she didn't anticipate Cassandra being there. But I don't know. I mean, like, how big of a deal? I mean, no. Yeah, I'm doubling down. No.
Okay, well, Donovan, let me push you on this here, because he won't let her go on that mission. He's the one going on it. So why even tease her like that? Like, let her see this and be like, look at this candy you can have. I'm sorry, you can't have the candy. I'm taking the candy. You get the garbage of Gotham while I'm getting the candy.
Wait, hold on. But like, does he know? Because I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
It's Oracle to Batman. I need you to see this now. And Batman was with Batgirl at the moment. So he's like, all right, Sandra, let's roll. Let's dip. And so they show up to the clock tower. She doesn't say David Cain, but to get on her screen. So, like, does he know that, like, they're about to talk about David Cain? It's just a coincidence. So it's not his fault that, like,
It's not
he
his
says
fault.
no, can't show him, but it's not like he's teasing her on purpose, like, oh, I'm going to miss her.
Okay. It doesn't even start. Let me just double check on that. Yeah, well, but on her hologram, she's got David Cain pulled up. Oh, come on. Okay. Maybe. Okay. I'll allow this. Okay, next question. Is someone talking to you?
No, it's like point goes to Donovan.
Oh yeah, that's fine. You make a valid argument. Okay, the next point, this is my last one on this one. I was confused on Cain's motivations. Why he's doing these video things, why he's pretending to be killed, and clearly I think speaking to his daughter, because he actually looks at the camera. Do you have any idea like what he's doing?
Real talk, like being like for real, this is a very confusing issue.
Okay.
And I'm not really going to fight you on how you should feel about it, because like every time I read this, it's hard for me to suss out Cain's intentions and what we're supposed to take away from it. And I like the characters, like the storytelling, but like I couldn't really tell you what's happening. So you feel how you feel about it, because I don't really know how I feel about it. Okay. I don't have any like strong, I think it's a meh, like an average issue, but I was just confused. Like, why is he doing what he's doing would be my main question. I like that scene in the flashback where like they're like watching the stars together. Oh, I do mention that. I think that adds, dimension and depth. Yeah, to their relationship. Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, before I leave this issue, did you see the cover of this issue? Let me flip to it. The cover, Batgirl's beating a bunch of people up. Yeah, should she be fired because she broke that young man's neck? No, because I don't even know that this takes place anywhere. Like, it's not. There's no crack lettering, and it's a cover, so covers like are No. And look at you have an agenda and a vendetta against this woman. And so his neck is broken. Batgirl didn't lace up her boots. Should she be fired for not being prepared? You're whatever. It looks like she broke her own back with that spinning kick. I bet. Like her right leg is completely backwards. Whatever. Okay, we're moving on. This is the main event. Oh, yeah. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about this conversation over donuts. I don't have any donuts.
Now, I would say we're on issue 23 if you didn't understand where I am. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was great. Like Barbara's relating to Cass on a particular level. And then I said it just quickly gets out of control. So the fact that Barbara says that she has issues, she was Batgirl for a rush. What else did she say? That she had no idea what she was doing, all of that stuff. I started yelling. But then I wondered, is Barbara baiting Cass into talking about this upcoming showdown with Shiva, and that's why she's saying this? Or do you think this is a mischaracterization of Barbara on the part of Mr. Puckett?
I don't think anything was out of character in this book. For this
Excuse
issue.
me.
Sorry?
I said excuse me in a very angry tone.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll repeat myself then. Is she baiting Cassandra to talk about her feelings?
Yes. Or
Isn't that?
her future fight with Shiva, because why else? How can you, well, if you don't think she's baiting her, how can you? I'm so sorry, I'm like flummoxed here. I'm emotional and flummoxed that you would think this. How can you believe that Barbara would say she wasn't professional? She had some issues. It was a danger thing and a rush. And she's going through it because she was a teenager. How is that a characterization of Barbara Gordon?
I see what you're saying.
Aha.
I see what you're saying.
Thank you.
You think that she's described herself like that as a cautionary example for Cass to hear that and say, maybe my course of action is the wrong one.
That's like the positive spin I can have over it. Otherwise, I'm like, who is this Barbara Gordon and why is Kelly Puckett writing her like this?
Well, okay. In fairness, and feel free to whenever you do bring Professor Coca back on to say well, we've read all the books and he's wrong. But I've read Batman comics with Batgirl comics, and I'm not saying this is recent, right? But this is back in the day, where Barbara did describe her time as Batgirl as being kind of a thrill. That's not the first time I've heard that.
Okay.
So you may not like and disagree and think this is wrong, and I'm not saying you're wrong for that, but I would not say that it's so wrong that the editor should have gotten him on that, because that's not new exactly in my historical reading.
Okay. Okay, I'm moving on.
You should do this every episode.
Just have you call in or call you, I guess.
Basically, okay, so now the segment's called "Explain Yourself."
I should call yourself. Yeah, explain yourself, man. Okay, so I am like the 10th page into this particular book. The talk has started.
What's that? What's the image on your page?
So it is, the main part is Shiva in a hologram, and then there's a little square just with Barbara's right eyeball. And it says something doesn't feel right. I think we should call it off.
Right. Okay, I'm there.
Okay, so I was under the assumption that Shiva was on her own and she came up with this fight. But when I read it this time, like moments ago, I was wondering, have Barbara and Bruce orchestrated this fight in order to knock Cassandra out of this, the symptom of guilt and the death wish that she has? Are they behind it?
You think that they've been in contact with Shiva?
I just wonder, I think we should call it off. I'm like, whoa. What does that mean?
Oh, no, I think that's just, Batgirl in a room until, they find Shiva and, try to keep this from happening. I don't think that, they, went to Shiva's manager and, and signed contracts or anything. Okay. I think it's just...
Okay.
Again, Batgirl was there underage. Now, granted, there's a lot of leeway that they are clearly giving this underage crime fighter, absolutely, and that can be criticized. But I don't think that when they say call it off, because they're discussing that Batgirl has, Cassandra has tacit approval to do this, and they've not told her no, right? They've not had Nightwing and Robin sit on top of her for a weekend, or handcuff her to the back of they're not really stopping her, and they're doing that of their own, basically they're allowing her to do this, but they're Oracle's having second thoughts, so she's saying call it off, as in let's revoke our abdication of this death duel and step in and stop this from happening.
Okay.
But no, I never took that as like they ever like actively like organize this with Shiva. If that were the case, that'd be a whole different story and it'd be very funny. But I've never read it like that.
No, I didn't. I mean, when I initially read this last week, I'm in line with what you were thinking. But then, just as I was going through and talking about this, I was like, whoa, that takes on another meaning. Let's call it off, almost as if like we came up with this plan. Let's back up and yeah. So I just wondered what you thought. I know that you really like this issue. I said that it's hard for me to fathom and almost stomach this conversation that they're like bringing her to the brink of death almost to bring her back. And I guess I would like to hear your thoughts on just this conversation and why you love this particular issue so much.
Well, I think that this is part of the like when you read this volume of Batgirl, this Cassandra Cain run, it's one of those things that you can kind of like expect to see because like for instance in Young Justice, remember Young Justice, you would have like not only like the team characters, but you would have like Arrowhead's mom, you would have Red Tornado and his foibles, you would have like Fighting Mad, you would have like the government going after like Young Justice and how they reflected the other DC heroes. You would have these certain like series elements that would characterize this book differently than just people in costumes going out fighting crime, end of issue. I like this dynamic of Batman is the father and Oracle is the mother. And partly because of like Cassandra Cain being a very different person than the previous members of that family, and partly because Bruce and Barbara are different people, I like this like dad scene at the table. Because it's in issue 1. I think it's once or twice in later issues where they're just like this is about Cassandra, right? And I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to get wrapped up in like, what is Barbara saying to Bruce? Who's a jerk? Like,
this is not the Cassandra Cain podcast. This is the Barbara Gordon podcast. Of course, I'm going to do that.
You're doing the Batgirl series where Cassandra Cain started. I like how this series is about this character, and the two oldest characters that the readers would be familiar with are trying to figure the star of this book out. I think that's a very shrewd and clever way to tell a story. I think that it's the same. We've talked about this before. Batgirl's looking out for Cassandra's mental well-being, and Batman feels that he can relate to her the most. So there's a disagreement, but the disagreement isn't like cliched, right? Yeah. It's not a case of like oh well, Dick Grayson is just too foolhardy to know what's best or whatever, or like Jason's too angry. Like it's like you can honestly side with Bruce or Barbara and not be wrong, I think. And I find that fascinating, and I love the last page where Barbara is like, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" And Cassandra just straight up lies. It's like, "No, I'm good."
I know.
I think that's
yeah. Or that she would, right? You tell me if you weren't okay, right? And she's like, "Sure," and I'm like, "I don't believe you." Yeah.
Well, just what kills this for you? What is your biggest hang up?
I guess I just find it really irresponsible. I can totally get, I mean, it's a Barbara Gordon show, so I can totally get like Barbara going like, yeah, okay, Bruce, maybe this is good. And then also being the one to be like, I'm second guessing this. I don't get it. But I just feel like it's so dangerous that there is a potential that Cass could get killed because you don't know that Shiva's going to hold back or whatever, or not pull the trigger. And so you're putting her to the edge and like, well, if she survives the experience, then she will have fulfilled her death wish or whatever, and she'll be okay. Like that just seems really parentally irresponsible. So that's why I can't get past this of like, why are you doing this to her? Is this really the only way you think she will get knocked out of the doldrums that she's currently in? So that's what I'm having trouble with.
That's fair. I mean, it is kind of an ask of like, Oracle did this. Now, if I recall correctly, I think in the big issue, Oracle does try one last time to like, no, I'm putting into this.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but I think
Sure.
like this is not the last of Oracle's. Like Oracle was never really convinced of this, and
Yeah.
she's not saying that you're the boss. You know, she's just like trying to like reason it out, and then ultimately she'll be like, "What am I doing? Absolutely not."
Mm-hmm.
So maybe with that in hindsight, I'm not really caring about how it is here because I know where it leads.
Okay.
But I can understand you being like, you know, Barbara would be a lot more forceful just because of the stakes involved.
Yeah. But I mean, I will agree with you. I mean, I have a couple questions left for you, but I think it is well written. It's just like some things are harder for me. And I think the art, like you could take away the words and you just see the body language and the stress on both Batman and Barbara. I think Barbara perhaps shows more emotion than Batman does. I'm looking at a page right now where it's halves of their faces all aligned together. You see two of them, and I feel like it's really well done overall as an issue. It's just like I have trouble reconciling some things.
No,
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's not outrageous.
Um, what one of the other questions I have is why is Batman so adamant? I say willfully naive, but I'll be nicer for you. Why is he so adamant that Cassandra could not have killed that man? That video is fake.
That's always surprising, honestly. I tend to forget that going back to it, and I think that's I don't know. I mean, to be critical of it, I don't know if Batman refusing to believe that Cass did that because she's a kid is. I don't think that he needs to be like that because like Alfred said, the girl has no idea what she was doing,
Yeah.
and she did it. So it's not like she's. It's not like it was like to misappropriate a term. It's like it was a consensual murder.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Like she knew how to fight, but like her whole thing is like, once she did what she did and she can sense how people are without verbal language, she was just disgusted. And that forms everything of who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Batman needs to tell him otherwise because it doesn't mean the same thing as like with one of the Robins kills somebody willing, or Batgirl or Barbara kills somebody willing. Like it takes on an entirely different context. So I don't really love his kind of like, it feels childish of him. It's like, la 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 la, she didn't do anything. Like, I don't love that bit because it doesn't seem like the character would be that refusing of it. And I don't remember how that's resolved exactly. I'm not even sure if they kind of come back to that after the Shiva story. I'm not sure if they come back to that. But yeah, I would agree that like that's something that like I'm surprised when I read it again, just because it doesn't seem. It goes beyond out of character. It just doesn't seem logical for the story to need that.
Yeah. I said that I think it makes perfect sense how she would buy in so much to his mission after killing somebody. Like, because I think she realized right then, oh man, life is so tragically beautiful and it's so worthwhile and precious that I made this huge mistake and now I'm going to try to correct it. So I feel like I'm good with Oracle there. Okay, well, I know you like questions that you may not have answers for. So this one, this one is tough. I ask who knows Cass better and who has her best interests. And I will say, because I said I think it depends on the story, but in this particular issue, do you have an answer for either of those? Who knows Cass better? Who has her best interests at heart?
I wouldn't really give an answer that's satisfactory.
Oh! Well. Okay, continue.
I mean, like, I would not be able to weigh Bruce over Barbara because I think, I would never like want to replace Barbara out of this.
I hope not.
Like she has the humor, she has the experience, she has, just the understanding. Like, I know how Batman is, but at the same time, like, it's not just I like Batman, so I can move. But he relates to her very well. Tim is afraid of her. Dick's just not really in the book. But you see Batman in this early era, this early run, a lot, and you understand even when Cass doesn't understand herself. There's that one issue where like they were training to, there's something off about her and stuff. So I think that like they both offer. That's what makes it good, right? It's not an obvious. Well, obviously one of them is wrong, so we just had to put up with them arguing until Cassandra realizes like that's lazy. I like the fact that it's pretty. I find it pretty equal and evenly matched in terms of what both members of the older members of the Bat family have to offer for Cassandra's development.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since it's your birthday, what rating would you give this out of 10 bomb donuts?
This is number 23.
Yes, number 23.
Oh, 10.
Oh my gosh.
I get your complaints. They're not egregious or like out of line. I understand that. But I mean, come on. I mean, like, I think it's just, I don't think that comics are written this way anymore. And it's almost like a bottle issue, right? Where it's just like, Oracle's Clock Tower and I think, and the Batman, the Batcave.
Yeah.
It's only 3 characters and 2 of them share most of the dialogue is a conversation issue about another. How often do you have an issue about 2 characters talk about somebody else? That's not a villain.
Yeah.
That's a member of their team. That's a hero that we're following. Yeah, no, this is a 10 out of 10. And like, I'm not even saying it's perfect. I'm not, but I don't care. It's a 10 out of 10.
Okay. Well, before I let you go to enjoy your festivities, now I did call you out in the beginning. Is it or is it not true that you said basically after the Shiva fight, I can do whatever I want with Cass. You have no connection with her. You're done with her. You won't be on this show anymore.
Well, I didn't say that you can do whatever you want with Cass. I mean, no one can. But like, I did say that like, I still like this story. I like the run, especially once it ramps up to issue 50. But the rest of the Puck and Scott run, I enjoy, but like, it's not as engrossing. Like, there's a couple of tie-ins for Bruce Wayne Murder Fugitive, and there's like a Chuck Dixon 4-parter with Robin and Green Arrow and Spoiler. That's like, by the numbers, it's not really all that interesting. And then the Grybark run, it's fine. Get the Superboy stuff in there, but it's all right. And the Dylan Horrocks run is, I do think that like they are lesser runs than the Puckett and Scott run. Like once you end the series with like, oh my God, Shiva was her mother. I knew it because they were Asian. Like it's all right, but it's not as good as it starts out. I think that like the Shiva story is sort of the culmination of like the very best of the series. So you really don't need to worry about okay, I better bring it on in here this month and this month. Like that's not really necessary.
Wow.
And I think it's good, but like it's not worth like it's not worth the trouble to bring me on here to give every issue a 10 and you give it like a 7.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So if I ask you, you'll say no. You will now decline my invitations to be on my show.
I'm like, no, I'm not gonna say no. I'm just not going to bother you and saying you better have me on this issue.
Okay. You asked what I would give this rating.
I have to know.
I think I would give it an 8.5 out of 10 bomb donuts.
Really? Do you feel pressure? Do you feel like peer pressure?
Well, I had 8 before, but then going through it and analysis and looking more closely at the art and everything, I think it deserves an 8.5, but I won't give it a 10, but those are personal grievances, as you know.
I thought you were going to say like at least a 5.
Oh,
like,
no. No.
I was like, oh, great.
You know what? Well, I said it. That garbage was the donut discussion. I'm reading. I'm like, who the devil is this Barbara Gordon? That's when I was like really upset.
Donuts. Like, what's the donut thing?
They're having donuts and talking about bomb dismantling for the first time.
Oh, where she says I was in it for the thrill.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, who are you? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna. That's your favorite character. I'm not going to tell you how to feel about that. I'll just reiterate. If that's not Kelly Puckett's brand new idea. But anyway, whatever. Even an 8 would have been fine. So 8.5, I think, is a perfectly healthy score.
I'm so glad that you approve.
Awesome story. And I just know that like when issue 25 comes around and it's like awesome and shining, glistening, you're gonna be like, what was that? I just see it now.
Oh no. Okay. Well, the people know that you're going to be on next episode for Batjerk Murderer Fugitive.
It'll probably be your favorite story because the point of the story is all about how he is a jerk. The Bat family just like fight over how much of a jerk he is.
Vindication. Well, just in this particular episode, in Gotham Knights 22, Batman's looking for someone to go over somewhere, and Oracle says that he's alienated nearly all the members of his team, and I started laughing.
Oh yeah, no, it's I think it's very much about that. And it's the last good Batman story. So
oh golly,
it will have. I think you'll be referring back to it often from here on out after it.
Okay, I can't wait. Well, thank you for taking some time out of your your birthday. Happy birthday again.
Thank you for calling me. This is my favorite present so far.
Oh no, it's not. You know what other present? What else did I get you?
What else did you get me?
Oh my gosh.
Remind me.
Oh my gosh. It's something on your body.
Oh yes, yeah. This thing's still trying to heal.
Oh my gosh.
Stella held me down by the mouth and stabbed my nose in. Personally.
No, not personally. We went to Nashville Inc., wasn't it? And yeah, he
Nashville
finally
Inc.
got his nose ring, and I bought it for him for his birthday. So there you go. I can't believe you forget. How terrible you are.
You surprised me with that. Well, I mean, yeah, no, I've been swabbing it a lot with saline every day.
Golly.
So I'm very much. It's not hurting. So like
that's good.
I think I have another. They said 6 to 8 weeks. So I guess it's like 5 more weeks until I can like replace it with something else.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Okay, it's your turn next.
Sure. Well, it'll be an eyebrow for me, but yeah. Okay.
Are you video recording?
I am. So you've been on this entire time.
Oh my!
So you can see, yeah. And thank you, Janice. So you can see my, I guess, reactions if you watch it on the tube.
I can't wait. Hopefully, my voice comes through better than last time. I need to get another new mic.
I hope so. Well, I mean, you're on the phone, so hopefully on my end that it works out. So I guess we'll see.
I guess we will.
Okay. Well, have a good night. Thanks again for talking me through some of these issues.
Thank you for being so understanding.
You're welcome. Okay. Bye, Donovan.
Bye. Love you.
Love you. Oh man, and all the shippers went wild. So there you go. And just to reiterate, yeah, giving it an 8.5 out of 10 bomb donuts. So I'll stop sharing. And yeah, I like how the wiki writer said that, oh, she assures her she'll talk about it. I'm like, nah, no, I don't think so. It's like a legitimate teenager saying, of course I'll tell you if I ever go to a party that has drinking and alcohol in it and things like that. Okay, well, there are no listener emails. I did get some feedback, both verbal and via Facebook message, on my thoughts about having the rape/sexual assault episode. I've already said what's going to happen there, but that's basically it. So I'm going to take a break. And when I come back, I'll be looking at, golly, okay, Batman 106 through 107, Nightwing 78, 79. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. So sorry. Oh, did I not save it at work? I forgot to. Okay, so sorry. Can't believe I did that. I forgot to upload it. Work got crazy in the afternoon, and so that's probably why that happened. But I will make do. 78, 79 for Nightwing. Urban Legends #2. And I think it's Batman Urban Legends #2 and Joker #2. Really, I'll be focusing on Joker #2, and then Urban Legends, I think, will be, I'll talk about it a bit. So, okay. Well, oh, man. First, we've got Zaius's Radio Hour featuring The Fighter by Gym Class Heroes featuring Ryan Tedder. See you guys soon.